It is that most wonderful time of the year, and I do hope that you've at least started the process of preparing for Christmas. I've certainly thought about starting the process of preparing, but plenty of time, isn't there? Hey, joining me on the program now is our literary correspondent, Elizabeth Kirkby-McLeod. Kia ora. Good morning. Merry Christmas.
Good morning. Merry Christmas to you too. You have grandkids this year, don't you?
I do have grandkids, which does take it to the next level. He's 2.5 and loves books, so wanting to get some of your advice on this. Before we get to that, though, I mean, are you a super organised Christmas person? Is this no? We were wrapped months ago, or have you still got a list you're working through, Elizabeth?
Well, this year I'm super organised, only because last year, as my children have got older, so many school things happen a year. There's end of year concerts and end of year team events and prize givings. And it just felt like too much happened in the couple of weeks before Christmas. And I thought, I can't shift those school things as much as I would like to write to the government and try. But shift my Christmas preparation. So this year that has eased my stress a little bit, realizing that in New Zealand, we just have everything happening at once. Yeah. And if you could shift something, it will make life easier.
Well, that is good strategic planning in that regard. Wanting to talk, though, about giving books as Christmas gifts. Now, this can be a tricky one because, as you and I have discussed throughout the year, books are a very personal thing. Choosing the right book for the right person, that's quite the art of discernment, isn't it?
It is. And in fact, I've got a little list here of do's and don'ts.
Okay.
And that on the don't list is don't buy a book that you think a person should read.
Oh, yeah.
But no, they will enjoy. For example, you might have a child that really loves graphic novels, and that might kind of irk you. You might think they need to get into proper, so-called proper books. Christmas is not the time to buy them a Russian classic because that's what you think they should be reading. You know, buy them something that you know that they will enjoy. But in saying that, do think about the kind of books that are out there. And they're not just fiction, although fiction is amazing. And certainly over summer, that's when I get a lot of my fiction reading done for the year, lying around books. But, field guides to great walking tracks, cookbooks, classics that the person might have enjoyed as a child. I've always said to my family, if anyone wants to know what I want for Christmas, a complete set of the Swallows and Amazons would be just mwah.
And hey, maybe you can compromise on this one. For example, if you know somebody's into graphic novels, buy them the graphic novel version of the Russian classic. Perhaps start in slightly shallower waters. Perhaps one day they'll work their way up to the original in Russian. Who knows?
You might start something and in years to come, it'll reap its reward.
Yeah, totally.
Another do that I have is a really simple one, which is do buy books for Christmas. You can give, particularly for children's books where they're more around the late teens, $20 mark, you can buy 3 or 4 books. And that will seem like so excessive and opulent when they unwrap, 4 books. But really, it's not going to cost you as much money as for the bang for buck in terms of joy of that big stack of books. So do buy books. Do get booksellers to help you. They are experts. Yeah. They going to say, nab a couple of books, book titles that the person has read this year and enjoyed, and going to say, this is the kind of thing they like. What would you recommend? They're here to help. Their experts use them. Yeah,
exactly. Now, hopefully I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but just wanting to share an idea that my daughter-in-law is doing for my grandson this year. She is doing an advent calendar of books. So there is a book to unwrap every single day in the build-up to Christmas. And you might think, gosh, that's horrifically expensive. What a spoilt brat your grandson must be. However, these are all second-hand books. These are all books that are pre-loved and hey, he's certainly going to be spoilt for choice when it comes to what book he wants to read. But just wanting to expand his reading repertoire beyond the 2 or 3 that he wants to have read every night. So it's an exciting thing for him. And hey, if you go second hand, you get totally more bang for your buck when it comes to how many books you can buy this Christmas.
That's a fantastic idea. I love that. A report came out just this week saying that adult literacy has fallen across the country. Yep. So it's not kids, but it's all of us. And one way to increase it, you see, is just to read and to instill in people a love of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever science, I can't explain it to you, but the more you read, the easier it is to read, the quicker a reader you become. And if you start with children, you know, reading is so much about togetherness and being read to, and that love together. If you instill that young, it will pay off in dividends. Now, I've got a bit of a controversial don't here, Andrew, so you can give me your opinion. But this Christmas, don't go buying books by famous people.
Oh.
Now, it's really easy to go into the shop and to see the latest, you know, comedian or sports star and say, oh, there's a book. But generally speaking, those books are not actually written by the person who has the name on the cover.
Okay.
They're not going to be the best writing that you'll ever be able to read. And, you know, then you're not, it's part of their brand. Their book is often, not always, but often the book is simply part of their brand.
Mm-hmm.
So support authors who have actually put years into their craft, rather than just make the easy decision that you know the face of the person on that book. Now, if you think, oh, well, but my partner really loves cricket and would love a cricket player book. Yeah. Again, talk to your bookseller, say, my husband's really into cricket, but I don't want to just buy the latest cricket book. Do you have an advice? And you know what they might say? They might say, well, yeah, you know, these ones are average, but this cricket player actually was a real wordsmith, and it's worth buying it. And he wrote it himself. It wasn't ghostwritten or something like that. But generally speaking, I would avoid the big piles of famous people books. But I know that's controversial.
I think that's an interesting suggestion. These people are famous for, hey, in your example, for playing cricket, not writing books. There's a reason for that. And hey, most people that are great at writing books, you wouldn't want on a cricket team. That's not saying there's not overlap in these categories, but yeah, often that's the low hanging fruit, isn't it? Oh, my this person in my family's into this, so I'll buy them a book by a famous person who's now retired and they're just writing their memoirs now. Yeah, I think that's good advice, as you say, a bit controversial, but good on you.
I really think that, you often see, I often am disappointed. Now, not so always, but I am often disappointed when I think it's somebody famous and I really like them, and I'm often disappointed with their book. And like I said, part of it is they're not writing it themselves. Yeah. So you're not actually always getting what you think you want. And I just think Christmas is not the time to be disappointed by a book. So there's tips giving people say, trying to get it so that the gift that you give and the gift that you receive if it's a book is not going to be disappointing, but it's actually going to lead to a really fun summer of reading. It
is so good. Anything else on your do's and don'ts list, on your naughty and nice Christmas book buying list, Libby?
Well, the other one is do check whether you can get an exchange card.
Okay.
A lot of booksellers will allow, books to be exchanged, because even with our best efforts, we don't always get it right for a person. That gives them an easy way to get out of it. I was talking to a friend just this week who thought she'd heard about this book and she thought it'd be perfect for her sister, so she ordered it. Well, she got it in her hands and she started flicking through it. She realized it really wasn't the right one.
Wow.
And she was like, what do I do? And I said, go back to the bookseller and say, I've made a mistake. I don't think this is the right one. You haven't read it. You've hardly touched it.
Yep.
Do an exchange. But sometimes it is good when you buy to ask if they have an exchange card.
Yep.
And it means you don't have to leave the receipt with how much you spent on the book. Inside it, they can give you an exchange card.
Yeah.
And if you really are stuck and you think, oh, I know that they love to read, but how do we buy for Libby? She reads everything anyway, and she's got such specific tastes and opinions. Then a book voucher never goes astray.
Yeah, no, that is some very good advice as always. Hey, I got one more to throw into the mix, and yes, this is also to do with my grandson, because this year at Christmas, we're not all of the family are going to be able to be together, and like I say, my grandson really loves books. So what his family from this end of the country are doing, we're all getting together. I know a guy that works at a radio station, so we're all getting together this weekend, going into the radio station, and we're going to read his favourite books as an audio file and then send that to him as an audio file, so he can have his Uncle Matthew read him a bedtime story, or his granddad or his grandma read him a bedtime story. So very simple, effective thing to do. Yes, it's not a physical book, but it's a way of connecting with a different generation with a love of books. So, yeah, that's something that's going to be keeping us busy this weekend coming up in the very few days we have between now and Christmas. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for your enthusiasm for reading and literature and the contagious way in which you communicate that. I do hope that you have a very Merry Christmas with you and your family. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. You too, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.